Hello guys, and welcome to a new series I'm going to be starting. It is going to be based in World of Tanks, and I'm going to be calling it a Noob Reviews. For my first episode, I figured I would review one of my favorite tanks in the game, which is the American Tier 7 medium, the T20. The T20 was the second tank I picked up at Tier 7 in the game, and for me, pound for pound, it is definitely one of my favorite tanks. With the decent mobility and the low profile, it makes it a very fun tank for me to play. Alright, so without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the actual stats of the tank itself. These numbers represent my tank crew and my current loadout, so don't be surprised if you see different numbers with your tank. So the T20 has 1100 HP, a top speed of 56 kilometers an hour with an engine power of 560. It is definitely not the most well-armored tank in the game, with the hull armor being 63 millimeters on the front, 50 on the side, and 38 in the rear. The turret has 88 in the front, 63 on the sides and the rear. The traverse speeds are pretty good, with the hull traverse being 37 degrees a second and the turret traverse being 43 degrees a second, but with my current crew and loadout, I have bumped that up to 44.79 degrees a second. The base view range is 390 meters, but I currently have binoculars mounted, which if I'm stationary, that bumps that out to 498 meters. I will eventually replace that with coated optics though. The signal range of the radio is 656 meters. The load capacity for this vehicle is 34 tons, but currently with my loadout I am just shy of 31 tons. Now let's move on to the firepower. The top gun is the 90mm gun M3, and it has an average DPM of 1,815 with my current crew and the equipment that I have mounted. The penetration for this gun is pretty good at Tier 7, with the AP rounds getting 160 millimeters of penetration, the APCR rounds getting 243, and the HE only gets 45. The average damage of the gun is 240, and that goes for both the AP and the APCR. With the HE, if you do get a penetration, the average damage is 320. With my current crew and the equipment I have mounted, I have the rate of fire down to 7.56 rounds a minute, which is a reload time of 7.93 seconds. It has an aim time of 2.16 seconds and a dispersion of 0.36. With this being a American medium tank, it does have pretty good gun depression at 10 degrees, so it really works well when you're poking ridges and hills to get shots down and protect your hull. Alright, well that is the T20 stats in a nutshell. Let's go ahead and move on to some replays. This first replay is of a standard battle. It is Tier 7 and we are on Serene Coast. I am platooned up with a clanmate and a buddy of mine. He is driving the T25 AT. And we have both decided to go out the B line and work the 1-2 line, trying to get some shots down that direction. I like to go this direction in decently mobile tanks, especially tanks that have good gun depression like most American tanks. This has, like I said earlier, 10 degrees of gun depression, so I try to use that to my advantage here, poking these hills and these ridges, trying to get some shots down. And we're going to try to see right here me get some shots on this A3, but for some reason I completely miss, and he returns fire and gets one right into me. I switch fire to the T-34-85, shoot, miss, go directly over him. He does not miss, so right now I've already taken 2 shots, so I'm down a little bit of health. In my opinion, the biggest weak spot for this tank is the armor. Just about every single Tier 7 can pin you, and if you get stuck into a Tier 9 match, which this tank does see, you will get pinned pretty much by everything in the game. The KV-1S is finally spotted on this flank, and the A43 is taken out, so I decided to be a little bit more aggressive and try to get some shots on this KV-1S. Unfortunately, I'm not in the greatest spot to get shots on the KV-1S, and I get lit up by this. I assume I get lit up by the Wolverine, or either it might have been the SU-100. But I decided to go ahead and put some shots into these guys. My first shot bounced off the Wolverine. I am able to clear him up with a shot to his turret, so I decided to focus on the SU-100. At this range, I'm fairly confident that if I angle correctly, I can bounce a few rounds from the SU-100, unless he's shooting APCR, which actually he is. But I am able to eventually get shots into him. At this range, it's pretty difficult to pick out weak spots with this gun. It is not the most accurate gun at range. It is pretty good though. I really love this gun. It is nice and punchy. You see right there, I ricocheted the APCR round from the SU-100, but he does finally manage to pin me, and then he gets taken out by our Cromwell. So the T-34-85 just was taken out. The KV-1S is dead, so we decide to push up and try to get some shots into their base and maybe get some flanking shots to the people that's on the peninsula. One thing I think the T-20 is really good at is late game being able to relocate and help out different flanks that needs to be helped. Like right now, we know that the peninsula is getting pushed pretty hard. They basically won it. We do have Koobs back in his T-25 AT getting some shots on him. We do have the ARL-44 also that's supporting that flank. But right here, I noticed that this KV-85 is in the back. I'm going to try to get some shots into him. He shoots and misses. I noticed that there's a Firefly, Hellcat, and there is also a Stug over there that I need to watch out for. So, and there also is a T-25 AT on the enemy team down around K3, if you noticed. That the EZ8 just lit up. So I'm able to get a shot into the KV-85. He backs off. I don't have any shots on him anymore. I figure I'm going to come up here and try to deal with the Hellcat. And there the Stug is finally spotted. So I figure I'm going to try to take out these pretty dangerous TDs and see what we can do. So far in this match, it felt like I haven't done much, but we're about to change that right here. I put a shot into the side of the Stug, then I get the ram kill. I notice the Hellcat is on low health, so I pull up, I put a shot in his back, finish him off, and notice the Firefly is there. He takes a shot at me. I get behind cover, and I kind of mess up here trying to get my gun on him, but it's alright. I do take a shot from him, but I'm able to finish him off, and that right there shows you the mobility of this tank, that the late game where you're just trying to mop up or either protect your flanks is a pretty good time for this tank to shine. You can see that I didn't do much until the very end, but I was able to rack up 4 kills and a little over 1,000 damage, and all in all a decent game, not a great game, but it just helps showcase the mobility of this tank, which I think is what makes this tank. That last replay showed off what could happen if you're top tier. This replay shows what you're able to do if you play smart and you don't make too many mistakes in a tier 9 match, which you will see quite often. This is the Pilsen map. It is a newer map that they've added recently in one of the updates, and this is a tier 9 match, a standard battle, so I decide I'm going to go out to the field. I don't want to get tangled up with the front of those heavy tanks if I can avoid it. So I'm going to try to get some flanking fire down the G line, and also try to deal with the enemy light tanks and possibly the Arty if I can spot it. So pushing up, I haven't been spotted yet, so I know I can be a little bit more aggressive. The AMX 1375 and the new German Tier 8 Premium, the Walker Bulldog Grand Finals Edition with a 90mm gun, has been spotted. That is a tank that's pretty awesome, and it has a pretty good nickname that's been floating around, the Black Dog. I believe Quickie Baby started calling it that, but it's definitely a pretty cool tank. So I still haven't been spotted, and my flank is protected by the lip of the hill that I'm on. I decide I'm going to try to push up, be a little bit more aggressive, and get some shots on these light tanks. One of my platoon mates, Dax, and the IS, he is behind me, so I know that he has my back covered. I do get a shot into the AMX 1375, and I finally get spotted. Jake, my other platoon mate, decided to go towards the city and help keep the heavy tanks and other tanks that went into the city lit up for our teammate to get fire on them. I take a shot at the AMX 1375. I miss, and unfortunately he stays in cover, and I'm not able to get a shot on him once I get reloaded. The Arty gets spotted, and I immediately switch my attention to him. He does get a pretty good shot on me, taking me down to about half health, and then Dax and the IS is able to finish him off. So now the enemy team no longer has the Arty. I'm able to take out the German Bulldog, and I decide I'm going to push down and play this ridgeline right here, trying to get some shots into these guys, some flanking shots. I do take a shot from I believe it was the T-37 there, and then I take a shot from the Lerva, and I bounce the T-37. So it's a pretty good thing that this tank has a low profile. I'm able to get down below this hill right here, and I protect myself and use my gun depression to poke a little bit. So I'm down to 356 health. I'm hurting, so what I need to do is make sure that I don't take any more shots from these guys if I can avoid it. So I'm definitely going to try to use my gun depression. I try to shoot the T-37. Unfortunately, he gets taken out right before I fire. And that brings our score to 6-4, now 6-5. This M4 thinks he's hidden. I'm able to shoot through the soft cover of the wall, put a shot into him. He backs off. So I'm thinking to myself, the Lerva is still down the G line. You can see I just bounced him, and I try to put a shot into him. I'm not even trying to aim for weak points because I know I probably won't be able to hit him. I do bounce off of his turret. He does have pretty good turret armor, and from this distance I'm definitely not going to be able to penetrate it. But he does give me the front of his tank. I'm able to put a shot into that. I'm going to continue to try to put shots in him while our team is making him panic. The score is now 9-5. It looks like we're going to be doing all right. It looks like I bounced off of his sloped armor above his track there, I think. I can't really tell. I shoot, but he was unfortunately taken out before my round got there. So now we're basically in mop-up mode. I decided to push in, try to get some flanking shots on these guys, and see what we can do. Again, late game, the mobility comes in handy. You can get across the map and relocate pretty quickly. I noticed that there's a German bulldog coming down the 3 line. I decided to pull up, try to get some shots on him, but before I pull out, I noticed that there is a Yag Panther at the end of the corridor, so luckily I'm able to stop and pull back before they're able to get any shots on me. So now I know that the German bulldog will have to take 2 shots to kill me, and I'm waiting for the Yag Panther to take a shot at the German bulldog on our team before I poke around and take a shot at the bulldog. So there's the shot from the Yag Panther. I pull up, I take a shot from the bulldog, I put one into him. He's on 71 health. He's charging me, but I know that Dax and the IS and my platoon is behind me. He takes him out, so now we're just waiting for see which way the Yag Panther is facing before I make my next move. So now the enemy team is left with a T-34 and a Yag Panther. Right now we're just waiting for the Yag Panther to either shoot or move. There's just shots, so we're deciding which way we're going to go. The enemy T-34 just died. The Yag Panther pulls off to the left down the corridor, so we decide we're going to pull up. We're going to take a left right here. So even in Tier 9 matches, if you play conservatively and you don't take too many unwarranted risks, you're able to actually do pretty well in the T20 as long as, like I said, you don't get in front of the big Tier 9 heavies or the tank destroyers, things like that. It can be a very potent flanker. Use the gun depression to poke ridges and you should be alright. So that's the end of the replays, and I think we're going to wrap up the review. The T20 American Tier 7 Medium is a pretty good all-around tank. It doesn't excel at any one thing, but it's not really bad at any one thing. If you can manage to protect the hull and poke ridges with a gun depression, you'll do alright. So all in all, I recommend it. It's a very solid Tier 7 medium. I appreciate you guys checking out the review that I did of the T20, and I'll catch you next time.